Wow. Like, wow. When I first read this, I genuinely thought that the social media accounts of Fabrizio Romano and ESPN were hacked. I thought they got hacked, but they were not. This is actually real. And just like that, what was possibly the most chaotic and drunkest AFCON final that we have ever seen just got even more chaotic and drunk. Andres from AA Sports, major news. The Senegal men's national football team has been stripped of their AFCON 2025 championship by the governing body of football in Africa, the CAF or CAF, and awarded a 3-0 forfeit win to their opponents in the final, the Morocco national team, who were also the hosts of the tournament, following a CAF Appeal Board ruling that Senegal's temporary walk-off following the controversial penalty call by VAR and the main referee in the final minutes of regulation time constituted a breach of tournament regulations, resulting in the forfeiture. Here's the full statement that the CAF released. The CAF Appeal Board decided that in application of Article 84 of the regulations of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, AFCON, the Senegal national team is declared to have forfeited the championship final of the 2025 CAF Africa Cup of Nations tournament in Morocco, with the result of the game being recorded as 3-0 in favor of the FRMF, the Royal Moroccan Football Federation. Wow! Now, just as a quick side note, when a football game is deemed to have been forfeited or some sort of cheating scandal leading to a forfeit occurs, it is usually deemed a 3-0 win for the other team. Why 3-0 specifically, I don't know, but if anyone does, let me know why in the comments. But oh my god, like not that the scoreline in this forfeit ruling matters. With this ruling, Sadio Mane is no longer a two-time winner of the Africa Cup of Nations. Senegal are no longer the AFCON champions, and Morocco are the new AFCON 2025 champions. Oh my god. This is crazy. So before I get into my take on this and the other details regarding this chaotic AFCON final mess, I think we first need to talk about how it got to this point. January 18th, just a couple of months ago, Senegal versus Morocco playing in the AFCON 2025 final in Rabat at Prince Moulay Abdallah Stadium. Senegal, in stoppage time, appears to score, but the referee rules no goal, calling a foul on Abdoulaye Seck for pushing Hakimi to the ground. But it was a soft call at best and controversial and questionable in just about every aspect. In the end, it remains tied 0-0 nearing the end of regulation time. But then, in the 6th minute of added time, Morocco had a corner kick set play, but nothing came of it. But the referee stops play 30 seconds later for a review of a possible penalty against Diouf that he committed on Brahim Diaz. The referee goes to VAR and after review awards a penalty for Morocco on what looked to be another soft call. Senegal, both the players and the coaching staff, head coach Pape Diop included, frustrated with the controversial refereeing that was going against them, in protest, walked off the field and went into the locker room, putting the game at a complete standstill for 15 minutes. While Senegal fans in the stadium were attempting to storm the field in anger. The only Senegal player who didn't walk off the field and played the vital peacemaker role was Sadio Mane, who later convinced his teammates to return to the field to finish out the game. It was one of the longest wait times between a penalty given and that penalty being taken that we have ever seen in football history. But Brahim Diaz would end up completely failing on the penalty kick attempt with a questionable Panenka kick that was easily saved by Senegalese goalkeeper Edouard Mendy. The game would go into extra time where Pape Gueye would score what at the time appeared to be the winning goal for Senegal, and they would go on to win the final 1-0 at that time. But with this ruling, that is no longer the case. At an initial disciplinary hearing in the days following the final, CAF imposed fines and sanctions to both Moroccan and Senegalese players and officials, as well as the fans for attempting to enter the field. However, they left the 1-0 winning result for Senegal unchanged, with Morocco at that time stating they would appeal this result, arguing that the Senegal players essentially abandoned the match by leaving the field and going into the locker room. And the long time gap in between the VAR review and when the PK was taken affected the outcome of that crucial penalty kick. Morocco went on to challenge this decision in the CAF Appeal Board, and now after the appeal board ruled in favor of the Moroccan Federation, Senegal has been ruled to have forfeited the game. And 2 months after this game took place, Morocco has been ruled the champion, stripping Senegal's AFCON title despite being the team that lifted the trophy and were given the champions medals on the field in the post-game ceremonies in the stadium. But this AFCON final controversy is not over. It's not. Following this ruling that has shocked the entire football world, the Senegal Football Federation has responded saying that they plan to appeal CAF's the CAF board's decision, and it will likely be done through the Court of Arbitration for Sport, the CAS, in Switzerland. However, any appeal to the CAS will likely take about a year to reach a final ruling, which means should Senegal appeal and CAS takes up this case, the 2025 AFCON winner might not be decided until after the 2026 World Cup this summer. Oh my God, like what? It is complete chaos in African football right now, with Senegal players expressing their frustration, while this leaves a lot of fans in complete shock. I'll be honest, I don't know what to think about this. It's that crazy. Again, I genuinely thought ESPN FC and Fabrizio Romano, I thought their socials got hacked. So, let's see. So, Article 84 mandates that teams abandoning the pitch or refusing to continue a match, which also violates Article 82, will face a 3-0 forfeit loss. And this precedent has been around for decades. However, it has rarely been enforced like this in this big of a stage. However, because it's a rule in place, from this perspective, Morocco does have valid arguments, and based on this, it initially seems like the CAF made the right call. However, even if you disagree with the Senegal players walking off the field in the manner that they did, why on earth decide to change who the champion is 2 months later? If these are the rules, this should have been enforced much earlier, immediately on the field even. That way it wouldn't look as sketchy and controversial as it does now. And on the other side of this, while an appeal to the CAS will likely take about a year to reach a final ruling, I think Senegal should appeal this shit. They also have a fair argument as to why their AFCON title should be upheld, or in this case, I guess, reinstated. The claim that the team left the grounds under Article 82 of CAF isn't entirely accurate, given that while Senegal left the field in protest against the referee's penalty goal, Senegal never actually left the grounds of the stadium, given they just waited in the locker room. And given this is also a FIFA-sanctioned tournament, FIFA's rules mentions the difference between the field and the actual stadium grounds. And Senegal never left the stadium grounds. So Senegal has an argument where FIFA's rules should supersede CAF's rules here, given FIFA is the biggest football governing body in the world. They're the ones that, they're the ones that host and organize the biggest football tournament in the world, the World Cup. And then arguably the most important thing, one argument in favor of Senegal, and that they have in their favor should they appeal, which they likely will and should, is that when they came back onto the field, led by Sadio Mane, the referee continued the game. And under Law 5 of FIFA, the referee's decisions on the field and the result of the game are final. If the referee allowed the game to continue and deemed that Senegal did not abandon the game, under this rule, Senegal's win should be upheld. So Senegal also has a very valid case should they take this up to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. Now, not to mention the other things leading up to the controversy in the game, where the controversial officiating felt like a final straw for Senegal, whose players were frankly being treated terribly in the build-up to the game. The most notable moment being Senegal's backup goalie, their backup goalkeeper, being bullied over a towel. He was bullied over a freaking towel by Moroccan officials during warm-ups, and they wouldn't knock it off. They wouldn't leave him alone. This final was brutal for Senegal, and not because of how they played. Then there's also this ruling and how it affects the mentality and morale of the players for both teams. For Senegal, this feels criminal. There's a reason why they are holding on to their champions medals and the trophy and not immediately returning them. For them, this felt like when you win big at a casino in Las Vegas, only for the casino to try to find some back alley, shady rule, or obvious error of incorrect or inflated odds excuse to disqualify you and not pay the money you won fair and square. For Senegal and the players and the coaches, the staff, the federation, they played fair, clean football, but were playing in a game where the house would win regardless. I understand why they want to appeal this. And then for the Morocco national team, did the 15 to 20 minute delay as Senegal's players walked off the field affect the mentality of Brahim Diaz and how he would take the penalty shot? Maybe. The longer you have to wait, the longer you're forced to think about it. But at the same time, they had their golden opportunity. Brahim Diaz had all the time in the world, practically, to settle his nerves and had the chance to win it on the penalty kick. But either because he couldn't control his nerves and was afraid he would sail the ball wide or over the crossbar, or because the Real Madrid ego and arrogance got to his head and he decided he wanted to be flashy with a Panenka kick, he bottled it. He absolutely bottled it. And regardless, none of this will change the fact that his Panenka was arguably one of the worst penalty kick attempts ever. He might have been celebrating when he was told the news during Real Madrid's Champions League game, but it doesn't take him out of that embarrassing spotlight. And aside from that, Morocco had more shots than Senegal in the game, and the final was actually pretty even when it comes to ball possession as well. They just simply fell short in a game where Senegal seemed to have simply got the best of them in a final where only one of these two great teams can win. To Morocco's credit, they were still one of the best in the tournament, and I had said in my Arab Cup video that I wouldn't be surprised if Morocco made the final, which they did. However, to win it like this, off the field in a court decision 2 months later, after the opposing team got to celebrate in your home stadium after you couldn't finish the job with the golden opportunities you had, are they really going to be proud of this? Is this really how they want to win the AFCON? There is surely a part of this that, for the Moroccan players, makes this feel empty. If this somehow gets upheld by the CAS, they might have winning an AFCON on their resume, but man, they are going to lose so much credibility on the international stage in the process. No other national team and its players will respect them for it. And it might result in them even losing respect at the club level when they have to play against other African players. And then for AFCON and CAF, the CAF with this ruling not only just destroyed the legitimacy and credibility of the AFCON tournament, they just self-destructed and ruined their own credibility. This is a terrible look for African football when CAF has been trying to break away from the old reputation of many of its football federations having dysfunctional histories and past stains of corruption. When it comes to dysfunction within national football federations in the CAF, for crying out loud, Gabon's government tried to abolish its national team after their elimination in the group stage of the 2025 AFCON tournament, showing they are still battling corruption and interference from their governments in terms of football administration. This is just awful all around. A terrible look for African football, and the CAF stepped on a landmine in their decision to strip Senegal's AFCON title, and again, it puts into question the legitimacy of all other major football tournaments at the club and international level that the CAF will hold going forward. Now, when the players say they've won an AFCON title, people are going to first ask whether or not they actually won it or if a court just awarded it to them. Then there's the injustice this does for the football fans, the overwhelming majority of whom still believe Senegal is the true AFCON champion. And whether you think this was the correct decision or not, the controversy now makes it feel like it has completely overshadowed and robbed fans of some special moments from this AFCON tournament. Even if it isn't a special moment for a country we root for. And this is coming from a Mexico national team fan. The photos of Mane, one of the greatest African footballers of all time, lifting what we thought was his second AFCON trophy, are now considered washed from history. El Kabi, who had an amazing tournament for Morocco, scoring 2 incredible chilenas. His performance will now be overshadowed by the controversial way Morocco won the AFCON off the field through a court ruling. And with Senegal surely planning to appeal to the CAS in Switzerland, will the CAF's appeal board ruling even stand? Will Morocco receive the trophy and medals only to end up having to give the trophy and medals back to Senegal and their players and coaching staff again in a year's time? Like, imagine that, and how absolutely embarrassing it would be for Moroccan football. This is just awful all around, a terrible look for African football, and I think the CAF and its appeals board made the wrong decision here. If the referee decided to continue the game when the players returned, and VAR also supported the referee's decision as well, and both sides were willing to continue on, the final outcome of the game should stand, and Senegal should still be the 2025 AFCON champions. Again, this isn't over yet, as Senegal is currently beginning the process of appealing this to the CAS. And if the CAS hears this case, I think a lot of football fans will be hoping that the CAS gives Senegal justice, and by doing so, will also save AFCON's credibility and prestige as an international football tournament. Andres from AA Sports. Crazy and chaotic times right now in African football, as arguably the drunkest and most chaotic final in AFCON's history just got even drunker and more chaotic. And while this AFCON 2025 controversy is likely far from over, there is one thing that this taught us going forward, and that is to not celebrate too soon. And that even celebrating after the final whistle could also be celebrating too soon if a sporting government body's Court of Appeals gets involved. That will be all for this video. Leave your opinions on the CAF Appeal Board ruling stripping Senegal of their AFCON championship in the comments below. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy my football content, and also feel free to check out my other sports content on the channel. The Mexico national team will announce their roster this week for their games versus Portugal and Belgium. So stay tuned for that video. Stay tuned in for that video on the channel. Until then, wow, just crazy news. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.